Hello and welcome to this quite late season 3 part 2 recap of Bridgerton. So I know those of us who were on Team Debbling last season were very disappointed by how that was handled, but I've moved past it, and for part 2 I'm all in on Team Pollen. I also read the book version, which is called Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, and it did warm me to the Pollen pairing a little more, even though it didn't always translate onto the screen. I'll probably talk a little bit about the book throughout the video. I also want to say that I know that last season I said that Lord Kilmartin was not attractive, but I saw this photo of him and Francesca, the actress who plays Francesca, and I gotta say, he's actually very attractive in real life, but not on the show specifically, even though he is still the perfect embodiment of a nerdy, kind of boring lord. So he's perfect. Anyway, more on that in a bit. Onto the video. Episode 5 picks up right where we left off. Penn decides to leave the carriage with Colin, and he takes her hand and he leads her into the Bridgerton home. He announces the news to his mom and his sisters, and everybody is really excited. They're engaged. Eloise, obviously, though, looks conflicted and she excuses herself. She says that Penelope can't get married because she's Whistledown and Colin doesn't know the real her. Penn swears that she's going to tell him, she just needs a bit more time. The other Bridgerton brother and the widow lady are still hooking up. Boring, but sure. A pregnant Kate and Anthony are also arriving to join in on the festivities. You know, it would be actually really nice to see the Duke and Daphne too, but oh well, I get it, that ship has sailed. Cressida's parents have announced that they're marrying her off to someone named Lord Greer, a man old enough to be her grandfather. She's not happy about this, but she has a little gallows humor about it, saying that at least he's rich and she can go shopping for dresses. She's not settling for this though, she'll fight for the life that she actually wants. Lady Featherington isn't sure about this Colin match for Penn. She thinks that Penn is foolish to have left her sure thing with Debbling for a neighborhood boy who hasn't even told her that he loves her yet. Just then, Colin walks in and he shuts Lady Featherington down and tells her that he proposed out of love. This makes Penn quite emotional, having somebody have her back like that, especially with her mother. Of course, it's all the more meaningful that it's Colin who's kind of publicly declaring his love for her. Colin says that he'll always stand up for her because he does love her. Then he starts describing what he loves about her, all sensual, and they start kissing. They undress then and make love on the chase. It's quite a detailed sex scene with a lot of visual thrusting and sounds. They also made a point of making Penelope a virgin, so it is quite awkward. But Colin is really gentle and careful with her. I mean, it's quite different from the book, because in the book, Colin is quite passionate. They both are, and he just worships what he calls, I think he called them her lush curves, and he can't get enough of her. And that desire didn't quite translate on screen, but anyway. Francesca and John are on a walk in the park while Lady Bridgerton chaperones. She talks about playing the piano and John asks her what she thinks of marriage. She says that she wants to be married, she just hopes that her husband won't steal her piano stool. And he says, wait for it, I wouldn't dream of it. It's really cute. Although their scenes are always quite boring because it's just random bits of conversation that we get with them. We don't really know him, we don't know them, they don't do anything. Like, I don't know, maybe write music together or play the piano. Pollen are basking in their post-lovemaking glow, and Penelope wants to read his writing, and she says that she'd like to tell him something when there's a knock at the door, and of course they're interrupted. They have a bit of an awkward carriage ride together. I don't know if anybody noticed that the scene was just a little awkward, or was it just because it was after her first time? I'm not sure. Anyway, there's a note from the Queen then saying that whoever can uncover the identity of Whistledown will be rewarded £5,000. Penn is squirming in her guilt then, and thus starts the nightmare Whistledown storyline that never dies in part 2. Colin later apologizes to Eloise for not telling her about his feelings for Penn, and he reminds her of her friendship with Penn, telling her that Penn's going to be her sister one day, so he'd really like her blessing. Lord Greer comes to the Cowper household and he lays down the law. He doesn't like parties, music, or even modern clothing. He also wants 4 or 5 children. Poor girl. He seems to be a strict man of God type. This is not going to be a marriage in name only. He wants an actual bride. Lady Featherington gently reprimands her other daughters for talking to Penn in an unkind way. They ask her what spell she used to bag Colin, because they can't believe that a Bridgerton would fall in love with her. That evening at the ball, I found myself wondering, did I miss something? Is this Penn's engagement party? Anyway, Marcus and Violet meet at the ball again, and I don't really mind their story because they're just politely greeting each other and secretly, not so secretly, checking each other out, which is fine. It doesn't take up too much screen time. Eloise pressures Penn about the secret, and she says that if Penn doesn't tell Colin, she will. Penn has until midnight to come clean to Colin. So yeah, TikTok Cinderella. Colin makes a toast. Pen is stressed. She can't even enjoy her own engagement party. It is her engagement party, by the way. Also, we switch between scenes so much, and there's so many side plots that this part of the story feels a little choppy. I'd love to have more focus on the orchestra, coordinated dances, and Colin and Pen whispering sweet nothings to each other, aka romance, but sure, this is what we get. Anyway, in lieu of any romance, we get the family playing charades, and then Cressida confronts Eloise about not caring about her plight. You see, Eloise is worried about Colin and the whole Whistledown thing, so she doesn't have the time or the focus to be a friend or to be there for Cressida right now. I don't know, I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed their friendship in part 1. I don't like that they seem to be binning this idea, along with some of the really good ones in part 2. I hate that Eloise wasn't a good friend to Cressida when she needed it, but, well, Cressida already has a plan. And I don't know, maybe her arc on her own is a little stronger. Anyway, her plan is to find Whistledown herself so that she won't have to marry the old man. At the end of the episode, Cressida announces that she knows who Lady Whistledown is. It's her. She is Lady Whistledown. And Pen faints. In episode 6, Colin goes to visit Pen. She has ink smudges all over her hands, but she tells him that it's because she's been writing letters to people to share their happy news. He's like, I know you wanted to tell me something, but I'll be patient. He brings her a ring then, finally, and I absolutely love how Lady Featherington is eavesdropping, all pleased in the background. She's so cute. Yes, we know that this marriage massively benefits her as well, and her change of attitude towards Pen, suddenly doting on her, does kind of leave a bad taste in our mouths at first. And if anything, the change happens too fast. I would have liked, a slower redemption arc for her, but this was still one of my favorite storylines in part 2. Lord Greer has rescinded his offer of marriage to Cressida. This latest scandal of her being Whistledown is too much. Mr. Cowper says that he's going to be sending Cressida to live with her Aunt Jo in Wales. Her mom also doesn't believe that Cressida is Whistledown because she doesn't think that Cressida is smart enough. The Mondridges tell Lady Danbury that they've decided to sell the club, and she suggests that they throw a ball. Remember, you can't work and be a member of the Ton because I guess it's too tacky. Lord Marcus comes by for a visit at Casa Bridgerton, and John and Francesca announce that they are to marry. Excuse me? We didn't even get a proposal. That's absurd. But okay, you two. Colin tells Eloise that his main concern now is Pen's well-being because she's been off and she fainted, remember? She goes to talk to Pen and she says that she sees now that the truth will destroy Colin. She tells Penelope not to tell him and to rather just stop writing. Let Whistledown die with Cressida's name. She's had a good run with it, but just let it go. Now, in the book, Colin finds out about Pen being Lady Whistledown even before he proposes. So all this fuss and time wasted on the show of, should I tell Colin? I'm just waiting for the right time. Oh, maybe not, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it could have been all avoided. I think that the writers think that we care about this Whistledown storyline, but it's really not that interesting. Anyway, the Queen requests an audience with Cressida, and she has one of her hollow wigs again that I love. I'm guessing that the costuming budget this season went to Cressida and the Queen. The Queen doesn't buy that Cressida is Whistledown because she believes that she knows Whistledown as well as she knows herself. Because remember, the Queen and Whistledown have been in a kind of battle of wits for a few seasons now. I will say that the Queen's preoccupation with Whistledown was quite fun. Also, I think that they're underestimating Cressida a little bit. I mean, sure, she can seem a little flighty, but she loves to gossip. And she can have pretty sharp wit at times. Even though, yeah, she is too visible to be Whistledown, people would notice her skulking around corners for gossip. Francesca and John discuss their plans to announce their engagement. Violet wants them to wait until the end of the season so that they can go home for the wedding and not draw the Queen's attention too much in the middle of the season, but Francesca says she doesn't want to wait. John wants to speak to the Queen because remember, they do need or want her blessing to marry. Francesca asks her mom, Violet, to speak to the Queen, but Lady Bridgerton is hesitant. Pen's mom tells her that she needs to cater more to Colin, basically lock him down already. When Pen expresses concerns about her own dreams, her mom says, and I love this line, ladies don't have dreams, they have husbands. And she says that her wish for her girls has always been for them to do better than she did, and she tells Pen not to take for granted that she's so lucky. She does have a man who actually loves her, and I think at this point Portia is finally realizing that. For some reason then we go back to the other Bridgerton brother and the widow lady. That storyline only gets mildly interesting towards the end, so we'll talk about it then. The Bridgerton brothers then take Lord Kilmartin out for a drink, and Colin reveals that he's writing a manuscript, a story about his travels. Now in the book version of Bridgerton, we get a sample of Colin's writing when Pen reads his diary, and I don't recall if we ever got that on the show, which I think is such a pity. They just tell us that he's a writer, and I don't know if I really buy it. But then again, they've been a little bit weird with giving us more of who Colin is on the show. The upcoming wedding is announced in the church, and Colin and Pen will be married in 3 weeks. Marcus obviously checks out Lady Bridgerton a little, but I swear I can set my watch to the stolen glances between these two at this point. After the service, Colin tells Pen that he knows that there's something that she wanted to tell him, and it looks for a second that she's gearing up to tell him the truth, but she ends up telling him that she loves him, and she's loved him all along, even when they were just friends. I really resent that a lot of the love declarations come from Pen, and also they're really stretching this Whistledown secret thing. Lady Danbury introduces her brother to another lady, and I wonder why she doesn't care for the Marcus-Violet pairing. Eloise breaks up with Cressida as a friend, which sucks because that just means that we'll get more Eloise running around after Colin and Pen, and more of that storyline, which I hate. Pen and her mom are bonding quite a bit over wedding plans, and the sisters are a bit jealous. They didn't marry the most eligible men, so they didn't get as much attention as Pen, and they're also not used to not being coddled by their mama. Cressida's father has been kicked out of his club because of her being Whistledown. She's trying to write a column to prove that she is, but she is really struggling. Her mom does encourage her, though, to write and to get the reward money. The other Bridgerton brother, his name is Benedict, and Tilly, the widow lady, meet one of her friends named Paul, and he's very accomplished and impressive. Benedict comes across as a little aimless in comparison, like a rich but still good-hearted fail son who's unserious. I swear he was into art in season 1, but oh well. He kind of draws a blank when he's asked about his interests. The Kent's first ball is quite underwhelming, but to be fair, most of the parties this season have also been a bit lackluster. There's a lot of standing around and chatting, and obviously I'd have preferred shots of, coupe champagne glasses and candles and maybe some fireworks. I think I'm just pretty much describing season 1 and stealing scenes from there, but I don't know, I miss how pretty the show and the parties used to be, and the scenes in general. I don't think that any of the dresses even stood out. I don't remember any. Anyway, Lady Danbury introduces Marcus to another woman, and she eventually asks Marcus if he must take everything from her, as in him trying to woo Violet, and the siblings finally have it out. He assumes that it's because he was the favorite child growing up and she's resentful of that, but she says that he actually took away her chance of happiness. The night before she was about to be married, she nearly escaped, but Marcus ratted her out to her dad and she had to be married. Remember in Queen Charlotte, she had to end up being married to that dusty old man? Well, yeah. The Queen arrives to the Kent's ball in a gorgeous, almost Red Queen, Alice in Wonderland-like type outfit, so I stand corrected about the costumes. She's all of us, and she says that the party is lackluster. Then the Kents have this installation that opens up in the middle of the dance floor, and it looks like one of those pop-up books. It's a bit of a monstrosity, really, and it's right in the middle of the dance floor, so it feels like it's a bit in the way, but everybody else is impressed, so what do I know? Pen and Colin dance, and Francesca is anxious to speak to the Queen, and she's getting really impatient at this point. There seems to be something budding between Benedict, I wanted to say the other brother, and Tilly's friend Paul. He tells Benedict that he's quite charming, and I don't know, I found the scene quite intriguing. There's definitely more sparks here than between him and Tilly. Also, I have a memory of him being gay in season 1, but I'm pretty sure at this point it's a false memory. But yeah, it looks like this might be happening, and I don't hate it. Later, Benedict walks in on Tilly and Paul making out, and they invite him to join them, but Benedict says that there's somewhere he needs to be, and he rushes out. Cressida makes a stunning entrance to the ball. Again, stand corrected. Sorry, but I love her drama here. Her gown is so over the top for this perfect moment. It's really hers, and I loved it. She's so much fun cosplaying as Lady Whistledown. Pen offers to edit Colin's manuscript. He's writing a book about his travels, remember? The Queen summons Cressida, who, by the way, at the party has new versions of Whistledown papers distributed to all the guests. And these papers announce that there's going to be a new issue from her soon. It's quite the tantalizing introduction. The Queen is delighted because, she also enjoys all the drama of it all. Pen is disappointed. She cannot handle that it's not her. Even though she doesn't want to be outed, she can't have Cressida take the credit for her work, which is understandable. Pen tells Eloise that she'll publish something to discredit Cressida. She admits that she's done a lot of damage as Whistledown instead of doing what she intended to do, which was give a voice to the voiceless like herself. And she wants to fix things now. Pen rushes to publish an extra page, and unbeknownst to her, Colin has followed her and he asks if she's Whistledown. How is she going to get out of this? Well, She won't. Anyway, Colin tells Penn that he followed her because he was worried about her traipsing about in the city in the dark. Meanwhile, she's actually Whistledown. He confronts her about the hurtful things said about him and his family, and he says that he will never be able to forgive her. Cressida publishes her first gossip page as Lady Whistledown, and it's pretty decent. She comes for Violet Bridgerton and questions the paternity of some of the Bridgerton kids. Then Penn comes out with her own page, so there are two competing pages. Penn's one tries to discredit Cressida, and poor Cressida, she's about to be shipped off to Aunt Joanna's. To be fair, that's a better fate than marrying the old man. Penn tells Eloise that Colin knows, and the girls have pretty much made up at this point. Penn worries that Colin is going to call off the wedding, but he says that he's a man of honor, and they've had sex now, so they have to marry. He asks her if she'll stop writing, and she says she doesn't know. So, I obviously understand his reaction, but I don't like that he's going into this wedding like he's now obligated. They really should have had Colin find out sooner for this reason. Because in the books, he marries her, he proposes because he wants to be with her. He loves her. There's no sense of obligation there. Tilly says that she has a friends with benefits situation with Paul, and that obviously Paul is bisexual, and Paul thought that he had a moment with Benedict. Benedict doesn't seem put off or anything, so I'm guessing we're going to get a throuple situation, but he's not all in right at the moment. Marcus comes to visit Violet, and he asks if they could explore something together when Francesca's situation is all fixed, her marriage, I guess, after she's married. Penn and Colin have a fight about the Whistledown thing that turns into a passionate kiss, but as you may guess, it's cut short. Kate offers Colin some advice the evening before his wedding, and eventually it's finally the day of the wedding, and it's really pretty actually. Penn looks gorgeous, even though the baby curls of doom are back, and I loved the little nods of encouragement that Penn and Colin gave to each other. Oh, that was really sweet. Cressida looks like she's on a mission. She's about to run away from home. We don't know. We'll see. Anthony suggests that he and Kate go and spend time in India for a bit so that she can spend time with her family and he can get to know her family and the baby can get to know the other side of the family as well. Also, Edwina is there with her new husband, apparently. Anthony has really come a long way. He tells Kate that he really wants to learn about her culture as well. And sorry to be shallow, but Kate just keeps getting prettier. And it's so comforting to see those scenes, and Anthony is just besotted with her. Colin and Penn have been giving each other nervous glances the whole time at their own wedding, for goodness sake. She goes over and she asks him to dance, and I hate the choice of song here. It's a violin version of Taylor Swift's You Belong to Me, and it's not the most romantic choice for a wedding dance, not good. The Queen arrives at the wedding and she says that everybody who is not a Bridgerton needs to leave. She wants the guilty party to confess. She's sure that Lady Whistledown is a Bridgerton, but she doesn't end up finding out Whistledown's true identity. Colin thinks that this is a sign and Penelope needs to let this go. He says that he will sleep on the couch tonight because he can't accept that she won't. This is such a miserable marriage. We're almost done with the penultimate episode and there's no romance for Pen on her wedding day. Benedict goes over to Tilly's home and he makes out with both of them. So yeah, the throuple is happening, at least for now. At the end of the episode, Cressida is about to uncover Whistledown's identity. In the final episode, we don't need any more Pen groveling for Colin's forgiveness, but this is how this episode starts. She's always the one doing the running. Anyway, he's going to his family's home for breakfast. Cressida comes to see Pen and she tries to extort her. She wants £10,000, double the reward that the Queen is offering. Otherwise, she says, she'll reveal Pen's secret to the entire ton. Pen calls her bluff, but Cressida starts by telling Lady Featherington, who panics at what this might mean for Pen and Colin's marriage. Francesca and John intend to go live in Scotland in his home in the Scottish Highlands, far from the family, and this makes poor Violet very nervous, having her daughter so far away, but she does make peace with it. Colin goes over to Cressida and he makes a plea for her to stand down. Shame, in his defense, he really does try, but he fails spectacularly. So much so that Cressida wants double the money now. She wants 20,000. Colin offers to pay Cressida, but obviously one of his brothers is going to have to sign off on this very large expense and they're going to have to think of a lie to cover that. This is getting so silly. Pen should just come out with it, but she's also a Bridgerton at this point and she doesn't want to ruin their family's reputation as well. Benedict is still busy with his threesome from last episode, I guess. I don't know, the scene is just randomly packed in there for like 10 seconds. Colin is sleeping on the couch again tonight and he goes in to get a blanket and that's when he sees Pen. She's looking gorgeous, but I have a feeling that, not that they hide her, but I would like more like longer sweeping shots, like sometimes the camera angles make me feel so claustrophobic this season. Anyway, it's a really quick scene as well, and you can see that Colin is conflicted. He wants to be with her, and I do kind of wish that his desire overpowered him in that moment and he caved. Which reminds me, there's this scene from the book towards the end where Colin just steals Pen away for a kiss because he just has to. He just couldn't stay away from her. I think I would even describe Colin as being besotted with Pen as well in the books. In the show, he's fairly restrained. Anyway, the next morning, Pen comes in and she tells Colin that she's going to have tea with Violet before Colin's sister's wedding. And I promise you, I was so confused in the scene. I literally asked out loud, what sister? What wedding? I completely forgot about Francesca. And I was actually waiting to see if Pen misspoke in the scene. Anyway, Colin finds the letters that Pen wrote to him. He'd saved them all this time. The Esquire man comes back to the Featherington house and he's all but uncovered the lies about the Featheringtons' newly acquired fortune. He knows that they came about their wealth via fraud and he's going to report it. So remember, it's the money that their grifter relative Jack stole from the ton? Yeah. Francesca and John get married in an intimate ceremony, and when they do the kiss the bride part, it's Francesca who looks quite disappointed, but she covers it with a smile. And I found the scene so interesting because it didn't seem to me like she was looking for passion as such. I mean, she and John had never touched or kissed before, and she seemed totally fine with it. But I can imagine that even she would still want a romantic kiss from her husband on her wedding day. Seriously, John, you had one job. This marriage is just so rushed. So maybe it makes sense that she didn't stop to think really what she wanted, but okay. Pen tells Colin that she doesn't want to run from her lies anymore. He can't save her from this. He just needs to love her while she figures it out. Tilly tells Benedict that she's starting to develop feelings for him, and she asks if they could consider closing the relationship, making a serious go of it. She's also caught off guard by her feelings because she was all about the fun and not committing, but seeing Benedict with somebody else made her feel like she wants to be just with him. Benedict unfortunately does not want that. He wants to be free. Tilly has shown him the way and he wants to explore all of that. I'm guessing by that he means his gay side? I don't know. Because I mean, Benedict's been running around parties for 3 seasons now. He's had freedom all along. Anyway, he and Tilly were never going to be a love match though anyway, so this is not really that heartbreaking. Pen pays for her sisters to host a ball, and she looks like Ariel in this dress with her hair like that. I don't like the fabric because I really don't like sequins or glitter. I hate it. I equally hated her outfit in that carriage scene for the same reason. The Queen arrives at the ball and she points out Pen, having received Pen's letter. Pen takes center stage then and she reveals herself as the real Whistledown. She explains why she writes and she admits that she's made some mistakes and judgments from the shadows and she promises to write more responsibly. The Queen basically gives her blessing for Pen to carry on. Just then, the butterflies are let loose throughout the ball. And after all of this, the moment just kind of passes. Nobody really cares that she's Whistledown. There are a couple of whispers, but the fallout isn't too bad. Pen also doesn't really get any consequences of being pretty mean and outing people's secrets, but I guess her ruined engagement and sad wedding are punishment enough. Plus, even though everybody's secrets were outed, Whistledown was still wildly popular. By the way, I get why Pen had to have this moment for herself, to use her own voice in front of the ton and have them see her. Finally, it's important for her character, but it's actually Colin in the book who makes the announcement to the whole ton, saying that his wife is smart and she's brilliant and she's Lady Whistledown and he loves her. He tells the ton that he knows that they're surprised that he married her, but the only thing that surprises him is that it took him so long and that he didn't see it sooner. I'm very old-fashioned with my romances, and I do love a public love declaration, so I loved the book version for Pen. But we do get a really heartfelt scene in the series where Colin and Pen have a talk about it. Colin finally accepts that she's Whistledown and he admits that he's been a bit envious of her success and bravery. Actually, Cressida had clocked that too when he went to confront her. Him saying that he's jealous might seem a little bit random, but it does make sense. She's this published author and she's accomplished this all on her own. She knows who she is and she's gone after it. She's even made her own money. And I like this a lot because this is one aspect of the relationship where Pen is more certain, she's more knowledgeable, she's stronger. And I like that she doesn't need Colin for this. In the book, he actually falls off the pedestal that she has him up on all those years and he just becomes the man that she loves. But he's flawed and she acknowledges that. She really grows up in that moment when she goes from a girl with a childhood crush to a woman who loves her husband. Colin says that he's so lucky to have her and they dance, as do Marcus and Violet. I'll give it to them, this was a good scene. Eloise will be accompanying Francesca and John to Scotland, and just then, John introduces his cousin Michaela, and Fran, she gets all tongue-tied in a seeming bisexual panic. And oh no, I see what they're doing, and I don't know, I don't like it because Francesca and John have just been married for like 5 minutes. I would have liked a little bit more time to have Francesca maybe realize that they're too alike or whatever the issue is and that they're not a good match. For example, that kiss moment at their wedding was perfect, but I don't want her going off to her honeymoon already flustered over somebody else, you know? But on the other hand, they haven't had us that emotionally invested in John and Francesca. So even if she does run away with Michaela, do we care? Do we care about John's potential heartbreak? I mean, I don't know this man, so I don't. Anyway, the stakes aren't really high. I just don't know why the show insists on rushing this so much. In the end, Colin and Penn have sex again. It's not a great scene. Like, it's an odd scene that lasts about 5 seconds. It's not that I want longer sex scenes, mind you. If anything, I don't really care for sex scenes in Bridgerton at all. But if you're going to do them, then at least commit. Or rather just have the passionate, heavy petting and then fade it to black. Because whoever's coordinating these scenes this season, it's not great. You can kind of see the difference between Penn and the other girls. Anyway, there's also a great scene between Lady Danbury and Violet, and I love their friendship this season, by the way. Lady Danbury eventually gives Violet her blessing to pursue this thing with Marcus. Remember, Lady Danbury and Violet's father had a brief entanglement in Queen Charlotte. Anyway, I think it was more than that. He loved her and they both deeply cared for one another. Anyway, at the end of the show, Lady Whistledown says goodbye to her readers, but she will be back under a new name, her real name, Penelope Bridgerton. Penn and Colin have a son and Colin gets his book published. And yeah, that is season 3 of Bridgerton. If you have seen it, feel free to share your thoughts and thank you for watching.